The 60s fashion was an era of fashion innovation for women. The 60s was more so known for its hippie fashion. Casual clothing started to become more unisex, and women started to wear button-downs and baggy jeans, comfortable slacks, bell-bottoms, colorful clothing, or skirts. In the 60s, the African-American community had artists with rhythm and blues that had taken over the more so gospel-influenced elements, such as Ray Charles, The Temptations, James Brown, and Aretha Franklin. Back then, everything was really laid back in an era where you can wear whatever you want and however you want, letting you express yourself. This is when you would see artists and men wearing platform shoes. Clothing in the 60s allowed you to express yourself through colors such as tie-dye and marble print. Clothing was very fashionable and very diverse. It was not limited to standard fashion.
In the 70s, Afros were a big part of the African American culture. Clothing in the 70s were more flashy in that of a hippie. For example, bell-bottom pants were popular in the 1970s. They played a huge part in fashion, same with platform shoes. People also liked to rock frayed jeans, mid-eye skirts, maxi dresses, tie-dye, peasant blouses, and jewelry made of wood, stones, feathers, and beads. In the early 1970s, mod clothes were fashionable. In the late 1970s, straight-leg pants and low-sole shoes came back into style due to the punk culture. As you can see, fashion in the 1970s was very different from the trends we call fashion today.
American fashion in the 80s was all about being loud, showy, and bright. Clothing was oversized, jeans were washed, and shirts were printed. Outfits were often accented with gold chains, bamboo earrings, and Adidas shoes. Even though other races looked down upon this fashion, 80s fashion became a trend and still is today. From the tennis shoes to the gold chains and earrings. A few major events that took place during this time was the Civil Rights of Institutionalized Persons Act that protected the rights of the disabled in prisons and nursing homes. The affirmative action backlash gave educational and economic opportunities to women and minorities. It was gradually destroyed by President Reagan due to the funds being cut off. And lastly, the amendments to Fair Housing Act, which prohibited discrimination on basis of race, color, religion, and sex when purchasing housing. I believe fashion during this era helped African Americans show how bold and strong they were.
The saying, what goes around comes around, may be intended to describe karma, but it also works perfectly to explain the cycle of fashion. Trends and styles that were once considered modern and daring become old and ugly, only to be reborn and reworn decades later. And the cycle seems to be turning quicker than ever. Less than 20 years later, fashion that was considered cool in the 90s is cool once again, whether it's on the catwalk or the street or in the stores. 90s trends are appearing everywhere, so embrace those crop tops, chokers, and we'll show you the modern way to rock them. Here's our guide to the 90s fashion and how to wear it today. Liking the clothing, the shoes of the 90s fell into the same trend categories. The grunge movement created an army of men and women alike wearing heavy-duty combat boots. They were tough, gritty, and paired with everything from slip dresses and florals to flannel skirts and frayed jeans. When it comes to accessories in the 90s, chokers were it. These collar-like necklaces sat tightly around the neck and added an edge element to outfits.
In the early 2000s, almost every rapper you could think of had a fashion line, from Diddy with Sean John and Jay-Z with Rocawear. The fashion for African American women were bright and flashy earrings and dresses that were hard to miss. Slightly tinted pink sunglasses were a major item, along with shutter shades, which were popularized by Kanye West in his video for Stronger. Sweatbands and blonde highlights were also sweeping the nation. For the men, extra baggy shorts, t-shirts, and Air Force Ones were the fashion trend. Loud and unruly prints were also in style for men.
Today's fashion is mainly influenced by the racial events that take place in the public eye, such as Black Lives Matter, Colin Kaepernick, and the Me Too movement. Many parades and fashion shows show different fashion statements that symbolize equality, such as jackets with spray-painted words on them with meaningful quotes to get society's attention about racism that is still present in our country. Many African Americans wear dark hoodies to represent Trayvon Martin murder, symbolize the injustice of black people in America. Fashion in today's society is mainly bold to grasp the attention of others and gain notice or popularity. Today's fashion also showcases fashion from some of the previous decades mentioned.